We don't really know where the world is gonna go, but now everybody knows that you can't stop for too long. Got to keep. But now everybody knows. Got to keep.
You don't have to be retired to receive tax-free income. The problem is the vehicles that we've been conditioned to believe to help get us there were never designed to produce income.
Got to keep going. What you want to be, going, you will see. It's your destiny, be in harmony. We were never meant to be apart. What you want to be, going, you will see. You can have everything you want. It's your destiny, be in harmony.
If you had a machine in your garage and all you had to do was put a quarter in it and it printed out $100, put a quarter in it, printed out $100, would you ever stop that machine from running?
But now everybody knows.
So what if you use that job that you hate as leverage to fill your machine so they can create income for you, so you don't have to worry about income?
We know where the world is gonna go. But now everybody knows that you can't stop for too long. Got to keep going.
Good evening and welcome back. Get in here. We had an amazing time, you guys, in Indianapolis, speaking at this conference, meeting a ton of new people who are all supercharging their future and their wealth building journey. This particular event was through the Scott Meyer Self-Storage Academy, and they were all learning how to leverage self-storage centers to create passive income, essentially generational wealth. There's a lot of benefits in there. We weren't talking about attractive businesses. We weren't talking about exciting businesses. Matter of fact, some of the easiest money you can make out there is the most boring topics. But there are people out there who are doing it and they are killing it doing it. And of course, there's people who are experts at this and they've been doing it for a long time. So that's what we were doing. And we met a ton of people who were also interested in jumping in the game. So why is this important, and why are we talking tonight about how to leverage this underrated hack, or kind of like a secret in leveraging your retirement dollars? Why is this important? Because we were sitting at an event where there were over 100 people in the audience who had money sitting in their retirement accounts, yet what they wanted to be able to do and the opportunity that was in front of them to be able to invest in these particular types of investments, they're limited because they don't know how to leverage their retirement income outside of what some mutual fund or broker dealer has prepared for them, right? And none of it's real estate. So this is why we're going to talk tonight about how to truly leverage your 401k IRA if you're self-directed. And if you're not, how to get self-directed, right? So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So if you want to know the number one most underrated hack and how to leverage your self-directed accounts and retirement funds, then you're in the right place. So
Absolutely.
We had a great time though, didn't we?
So, what's interesting is we talk a lot about getting self-directed, taking control, owning where you are, and being able to have more leveraging capability besides what you've been, I'll call it, conditioned to believe you can do. But that doesn't necessarily just mean when we talk about getting self-directed and taking control, it just doesn't mean, finances. Like, we had an amazing time over these last few days, not just educating others on how to become self-directed, leveraging their retirement account, but we also learned that getting self-directed also applies to your health, right? Like, there are ways that you can actually, like, when we talk about the wealth equation and generating wealth and control, you can apply that to anything: relationships, wealth, health, you name it, it applies. And because we had an opportunity to hang out with some of our, I'll call it, family from our live, and spend some time with them as well on our financial freedom tour, which I think we just should call it freedom tour, because it was less finances being discussed and more how do you kind of take control over your health. So it was just a pretty amazing trip. So
Man, I hope we get to do this everywhere we go because that was the highlight. Well, I love talking to people in general and meeting new people and being able to help people. Like that obviously was the whole mission, but the highlight was just being able to meet like our self-directed fam. The people who have been here with us and watching, and they're taking steps already to create their own machine in their own system, but really being able to peel back the layers and understand how that's like why this made sense for them and how this also aligns with other things in their life. We learned all about a whole new way of eating and how other people are taking initiatives or what their perspective is on all of this. Matter of fact, we had spouses that came along. Their spouses were the ones who were watching the channel, and they just came along. One of them, Galen, it was her birthday, and she was having dinner with us on her
Right.
birthday, and she'd
Nuts. Right.
never even really like watched us before. She was just kind of going based off of like what her husband had said, right? Like, okay, this is worth it, I promise you. And this couple was completely amazing. Like just being able to meet them. The other part of that was somebody had driven in the rain and 5 hours to come and sit with us and meet with us and break bread with us and just love on us. That's really what it was. And we got to love right back on everybody. And just watching that happen, I hope that, and then now they know each other, right? So now they know each other. They're in a familiar area. I just feel like that's the community part and communing and being able to, right, self-direct so many aspects of our lives, but really share what our machines look like so that because there's many ways to 10, right? And they were proof of that their equations were all different too. So I think that's the benefit here is the community piece. Showing up here,
That's it.
jumping in the chat,
That's
getting
it.
to know other people who are on the same journey as you. So if you're watching and you have not yet jumped in the chat, jump in there. I promise you, if we see somebody new in the chat, we are going to welcome you with open arms because we understand the importance and how important it is to be able to build a community of people who are going the same direction, right? We grow farther and faster when we grow together. And this weekend was just amazing to be able to meet some of you. So we hope that happens again. And we will definitely be staying in touch. So I just feel like through this, we say we're building a community, we're building a lot of things. But the main, I think, core piece to this is it feels like we're just building a family.
That's
Just
it.
as simple as that. Yeah. And that's,
Not
I mean, I really
subscribers,
sincerely
not
mean that.
clients. It's a family. It's a
Right.
community.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you see that too in the chat and how supportive people are over for each other and they're cheering for each other and they come in here and this is a place where when you know that you have a win, you have a win to share and you come in here, you can share it. Whereas sometimes your family and friends, you can't share these wins with them. They won't cheer the same because they don't understand how significant it is, right? We know those moments matter and how much they matter. So yeah, so get in here, guys. Okay, so the point though is that as we're talking and we're at this event, right, for this 2-3 days, we're talking to people who are pretty much all asking some of the same questions over and over again. And it's because there's so many people who have these tools at their fingertips, right? 401k, IRA. Some of them understand what a Roth IRA is. They had no idea you could even Rothicize a 401k, right? They had no idea what you could do with a self-directed account, or that some of them didn't even know that they even existed. And we see this all the time. The most important part is it doesn't matter what you have if you don't know how to use it, right? And you don't know how to leverage it to really maximize its potential. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how to take a personal loan from your self-directed 401k to be able to invest in what you want when you want. So you ready to jump in?
I couldn't have said it any better. Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Let me get my stuff together here because we got to do it right. You know, we can't just be willy-nilly jumping into the vibe board. All right. Well, anyhow, I see everybody who's in the chat, and thank you so much for jumping in. I can't talk and pull these up.
Oh, you'll be in
So
there in a minute.
yeah, I'm about to come in here. I see some new ones too. Welcome. Hey. Okay. All right. We're jumping into the vibe board, and I'm going to jump in the chat. Here we go.
So we cover a lot of things, and please do me a favor also in the chat, just make sure that my volume's okay. We've been adjusting some things before we got started, so I would like to just make sure that you can hear me effectively, efficiently, all that kind of good stuff. But we talk about a lot of stuff on this channel, and we talk about IRAs, 401ks, velocity banking, first position HELOCs, infinite banking, velocity banking, and also a secure compound interest account in the form of MPI. This over these last few days, I spent a fair amount of time talking to a room of investors or potential investors who are wanting to get into self storage, who are wanting to be able to leverage dollars or leverage people who have leverageable dollars to be able to invest in self storage. Why? Because it's one of the few passive income vehicles out there that you can invest in and not have to deal with the tenants, toilets, and trash and the ups and downs of the market. Now, is real estate in any shape or form impacted by the market in some cases? Absolutely. But self-storage is one of those passive vehicles that can actually produce you a significant amount of income. And what we talk about on this channel is being able to step outside of the investment equation and create a wealth equation. Well, how do you do that? You reduce and or eliminate risk. And putting your money in a position to where it can work for you is what helps reduce and or eliminate that risk. And self-storage happens to be one of those vehicles where you can reduce the risk. Maybe not eliminate, but you can reduce the risk. And specifically, what we wanted to talk about today was how to leverage your 401k. And in truth, we've done this before. Matter of fact, I want to say we did it maybe a month ago. And the reason we wanted to bring it back up tonight is because I only have so much time to be able to present, I'll call it 90 minutes of material in front of a group. So what I wanted to do was just highlight some of the consistent questions that was asked during that presentation. One of them was around, okay, we want to be able to participate in this environment and be able to invest in non-traditional investments like self-storage, but how? How do we leverage our retirement account, our retirement dollars to be able to do so? Like, what are those steps? Like, how do we go about it? And one of the easiest ways of doing it, especially if you're wanting to invest in a space like this and be able to reap the benefits, use the income now before you hit retirement age, the easiest way to do that is to leverage and or borrow against your retirement account. Borrow against your 401k, but it has to be structured properly. And there are many types of retirement accounts, right? TSP, 403B, IRA, 401k, SEP IRA, 457 plan. There's a lot. Well, not all of them give you the capability of being able to leverage against it. And so what we wanted to talk through is, one, what makes the 401k capable of doing so and why you can't do it in other vehicles. And just to be clear, not all 401ks are the same. The 401k or the 403b or the TSP or the government 457 plan you have with your company, your W-2 job, has the capability of doing what I'm about to walk you through. But the issue is it's not structured to be able to do so. Why? Why isn't your current retirement account with your current job capable of doing what I'm going to walk you through today? It's because the company you work for and the custodian that has your retirement account won't allow it. It's flat out because it has the capability. So just so we're clear, you can do what I'm about to walk you through with your current company's retirement account if it was structured to do so. And now, how do we structure a 401k to be able to be leverageable, to be able to borrow against? Well, first starts with asking two questions. When you have a previous employer's plan and you're looking to be able to leverage it or use it to be able to invest in what you want, get it properly structured, get it self-directed, there are two questions that I ask. One, do you have any self-employed income? So what do I mean? Do you have any do you have a sole proprietorship or any 1099 income, any LLC, any S corp, any C corp? Do you have the capability? Do you have a business in order that has the ability to be able to generate income? If that answer is yes, and just so we're clear, nowhere in that sentence does it say how much. Like, do you make $50,000 a year? Didn't ask that. What I asked was, do you have any self-employed income? It could be as little as, well, I don't think there is a little amount, but I share this example all the time. One of my first clients was a gentleman who taught kids how to box on the weekend. He wanted to be able to leverage his previous employer's plan to be able to start his own self-directed 401k so that he could leverage it and do other things. But he didn't own a business, so he said. But as I mentioned, he teaches kids how to box on the weekends. And what I asked was, well, how much do you make? Well, it's only like $50 because the rent for the gym was $50 a month. So he only charged enough to be able to pay for the rent. Everything else was free. And I said, well, what do you do with that $50 when you make it? Do you account for it on your taxes? Yeah, I do. Well, that is supplemental income. That is a business, regardless of how much it's, even though it's only $50 a month. That was enough for me to be able to create a self-directed 401k for him. And then the second question that is asked is, do you have any full-time employees? So if you've got a business, any LLC, any S Corp, any C Corp, any 1099 income, any sole proprietorship with no full-time employees. And what do I mean? Well, do they work less than 20 hours a week? And I want to say I get this wrong every time, but I want to say it's about 1,000 hours. No long as they're working less than 1,000 hours, because I have a lot of clients who have seasonal work, and during the specific seasons, they may hire people full time. But when you do that math or across a year, is it enough? And so the bottom line is, if you don't have any full-time employees, you have the ability to have your own self-directed retirement account. And so in the process of doing that, we then create a brand new checkbook controlled 401k. Well, what does that look like? Well, the first step is we need to move your current employee or the previous employer's plan that's sitting in Fidelity, sitting in some mutual funds, stocks and bonds, probably not doing what you wanted to do, probably losing a bit over these last few months based off how the market was doing over the last few weeks. So what we would do is take those funds, move those funds, penalty-free, tax-free. This is a qualified to qualified move. So we would move them into a brand new checkbook controlled, self-directed 401k that I would create. My job, my role is to create a brand new 401k. Well, here's the awesome part about a 401k. Let me go here. 401ks have their own EIN number. And as a result, when I create this brand new 401k with its own EIN number, that allows me to automatically generate a checkbook, meaning your 401k, because of the EIN number, we're able to then create and open a checking account, which allows us to then transfer funds, or allows you to transfer funds from your previous employer's plan. So sitting in Fidelity, sitting in Morgan Stanley, wherever it's sitting, penalty-free, tax-free, into the checking account of the 401k. Once it's sitting in that 401k, you now have full control over every dollar in it. Now, what you can do with those dollars is really up to you. There's no limit as to what you can, I'll call it, invest in using your own retirement dollars. And what does that allow you to do? You're allowed to then put your money in a position to where you can beat the 4% rule. You can beat that rule that says the max that you can take out of your retirement when you hit retirement age is 4% of whatever the total is. If you want to be able to beat that, you can put your money in a position so that you can. And in addition, okay, we created this 401k. Then I guess the statement is, how are you able to contribute to it if we create this or generate this self-directed 401k? Meaning you were no longer contributing to it when it was sitting in your previous employer's plan. We created a brand new self-directed 401k linked to your business. One of the highlights that I like to make as it relates to having a self-directed 401k is the contribution amounts, or the money that you're able to contribute to it while it's sitting in your possession, while you have it linked to your business. Well, you have the ability, if you're under the age of 50, to contribute $23,000. But in addition, you're able to provide a match, meaning you're able to create the match. And what you're able to contribute into that 401k comes from the sponsor or the company or the business that is linked to the 401k. So in this case, if you have some type of sole proprietorship or some type of LLC that maybe you drive Uber, I don't know, you do rideshare. Let's say your rideshare is linked to your 401k, where any income generated by the rideshare that you do, you're able to contribute into your 401k. What does that do for you? Well, that allows you to contribute tax deferred income. I'm not going to get into a Roth versus traditional discussion, but the moral of the story is you're able to reduce your taxable dollar amount by contributing a certain amount into your 401k. Well, how much is that? Well, under 50 is $23,000, but you're also able to contribute a match. And that match is the employer contribution, which is an additional 25% of what you make up to 46,000. So if you're under the age of 50, you're able to contribute $69,000. If you're over the age of 50, you also have that catch-up contribution. And that catch-up contribution is an additional 7,500, which means in total, if you're over 50, you're able to contribute 76,500. Now, obviously, the business that you have has to be able to generate an income like that in order for you to be able to contribute to it. But the key piece to remember is this. It's a lot more than what you can contribute. How about $61,000 more than what you can, I'm sorry, $62,000 more than what you can contribute into an IRA. So which is better? And then once we get you properly structured, again, the question that I got a lot over these last few days is, what is it called if I want to get money out of my retirement account before I hit retirement age? Like, what is that process? And this sounds really weird, but it's the truth. You are borrowing from yourself. You are the owner of the 401k. The 401k is a pension plan created. Well, it's a pension plan also called a trust. So your 401k that we would create is a trust that you own. So you're looking to borrow against your 401k, which means you are looking to borrow from yourself, and that dollar amount is going to yourself. So it's a loan, it's leverage, it's a borrowed dollar amount. It has many different names, but the moral of the story is you're writing a check from you to you. And so the idea is this dollar amount that you're able to use can be used for anything. So what is it called? It's just simply a loan. You have a certain dollar amount inside of your 401k, and you are able to write a check and borrow that dollar amount from you to you. And what can it be used for? And I don't know that we have enough time today to go through everything that you can use that borrowed dollar amount for. But here's the key, especially for the people who spent time with me over the last few days who might be watching this as well. If the objective is to be able to use some of your 401k dollars, leverage some of your 401k dollars to be able to have access to, you can use this to buy partnerships. You can use this to buy education. You can use this to invest in anything you want. I was sitting in a room of about 100 plus people who were trying to figure out how they can get involved in the ability to be able to invest in self-storage. And so they were trying to identify where capital can come from. Well, no different than borrowing from a bank, you are able to borrow from your 401k and use those funds to invest in whatever you want. So what can it be used for? Anything. And I think that's the next slide. Yep. So what can it be used for? Well, when I say anything, well, your 401k has some rules that you have to follow. Those two rules are here: prohibited transactions and disqualified persons. So if we were talking about your 401k dollars, there are certain transactions that you cannot use the money for. And there are certain people that can't be involved. But as it relates to your dollar amount that you've leveraged, let's see, how do I do this? I'll go here. As it relates to the dollar amounts that you've leveraged, you absolutely can use the leveraged dollar amount to be able to purchase the prohibited transactions. What are the prohibited transactions? Well, there are three things that you cannot purchase using your 401k dollars. It's S Corp shares, life insurance, and collectibles like antique cars, paintings, stuff like that. So you cannot buy life insurance, you cannot buy S Corp shares, you cannot buy collectibles using your retirement dollars. 401k, IRA, doesn't matter. You cannot do it. But when you leverage, when you borrow against your 401k, when you're properly structured to be able to borrow against your 401k, those prohibited transactions do not apply. So for those of you I've also got people who are watching this wondering how they can get more money into their secure compound interest account. You can absolutely buy life insurance using your leveraged dollars from your 401k. And then the disqualified persons. There are certain people that cannot be associated with your 401k. Why is that? Well, your 401k is designed to help you retire. So there's a straight line of individuals who can't benefit from your 401k while you are contributing to it on a mission to be able to retire. That straight line of individuals are your grandparents, your parents, your kids, your grandkids, your spouse, and any of their spouses. Again, straight line of individuals. So those individuals can't be involved, which means if you wanted to purchase a rental property on the campus of your daughter and put her in it and have the roommates who end up living with her pay back to your 401k, grow your 401k. So you purchase a property using your 401k, put her in it to be able to generate income to help grow your retirement. You can't do that because your daughter's a disqualified person. But if you were to borrow against your 401k, you absolutely can do so, which means the disqualified person doesn't impact it. And the ability to borrow a maximum amount. We're going to walk through how much that is and what that looks like, but we'll handle that. How to avoid taxes and penalties. And let me give you the answer to the test before we even go through the test. If you're using leveraged dollars have no tax. So there's no penalty. So you are not impacted by taxes or penalty if you're using leveraged dollars. And then the last one is how. How do we go about it? We will step through the exact process, the exact steps to be able to borrow against your 401k, because that was a consistent question that I received as well. I had enough time to explain that you're able to do it, but I didn't have enough time over these past few days to explain the how. So we'll also go through that. Sweetheart, I'm moving at rocket speed. Everything okay?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that we have some questions. So whenever you're ready, you just let us know.
If they are questions that pertain to some of the slides I just went through, I can absolutely stop, because you know me, I will keep shooting. I got a machine gun.
Yeah. We used to say fire hose. Are we changing this up?
That is true. And Sequia, no, it is not Kool-Aid. I don't know if you addressed that or not, but she asked me if I was drinking Kool-Aid. So
yeah, she wants to know what flavor is it? The flavor is red. We all know that.
So actually grape. The flavor is grape.
Flavor is red.
So you want me to keep going, or you want me to answer questions? Up to you.
Well, I was trying to pull them up.
Okay, go for it, sweetheart. I'm sorry.
Pause. Let me.
You want me to go back anywhere?
Okay. Okay, I got to go back and find the questions because there's some that are missing out here. If I get a sale on a property, how much can I move to my 401k?
If you get a sale,
I get you didn't have this on a slide, but it's still
it's relevant. Yeah. If you have a sale on a property, how much can you move to your 401k? Well, it depends on what the objective is. What's the goal? Let me make some assumptions. You got to sell. You have an opportunity to buy a property, and you're wanting to leverage some of the money from your 401k to be able to buy that property. That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is you have an opportunity to buy a property, and you want the 401k itself to purchase the property. Two different actions, two different dollar amounts that you're able to use. So I'm not really clear as to which. And if we're talking about borrowing against your 401k, how much? That's actually the next slide. So we're headed down that path. If we're talking about buying the property inside of your 401k, the short answer to that question is there's no limit, because depending on how much you have in your 401k, all, some, none, a portion, you can use leverage, you can borrow against. There are many different actions you can take inside of the 401k. So,
okay. Gosh, I'm trying to go back.
And I'll bring this question back up when I go over how much you can leverage or borrow inside of your 401k, how much you can move when we hit that leverage piece. So I'll go back over this question.
Okay. If you guys could put a Q in front of when you ask a question, that will help me identify which ones are questions or not. That makes it easier, but there's some that are missing. So I'll do what I can here to get to them. Okay. Booker is new to our channel and tuning in. And is it too late to start using your system if you have worked in it later in life? What I'm saying is I just came across your video and I loved it. And they're asking, like, is it too late to get started leveraging some of these strategies? And while that's a very general question, what my answer in the chat was, it's not just one system that we teach. There's many different things like Legos. Depending on the pieces that you have, really dictates what it is that you can build, right? So just learning how to put those pieces together, whatever you were thinking you could build with them, you might learn something different if you just had instructions on how else they could be put together, right?
Absolutely. And Booker, this equation you're seeing on the screen is something that we talk about a lot. And that is the difference between what most of us have been conditioned to believe as to how we're supposed to grow wealth or generate wealth. This equation is slightly different than the investment equation, meaning most of us who have IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, most of us who invest, whether it's crypto, you name it, are using the investment equation. We talk a lot about the wealth equation. The difference between the investment equation and the wealth equation is one variable, and it's right here. Oh, it's right here. And let me walk through the variables though, because you asked, is it too late? Well, the first step to generating wealth is when you start, and that is paying yourself first, starting today. So is it too late? Absolutely, it's not too late. But I get it because I'm 50 years old. So I get the time horizon. I get the number of compound cycles that I have left because of my age. I have to be realistic about the fact that, hey, because I'm 50, I can't do what one of my four sons can do. I've got an 18-year-old that if he's diligent about it, he can put away $180, $200 a month, and he could be retired by 45 easily, a millionaire, no problem. But I don't have that kind of time, so therefore I can't put away $200 a month and expect the same. So the first step is I have to pay myself first. I have to focus on me first. I have to focus on generating wealth first. And then I have to starting right now, today. So is it too late? Absolutely not. But then what do? Well, you have to place those funds in a position that is secure. Meaning what? I don't have time for market recovery. We may be going through a change in leadership in this country. When that happens, the market is going to do whatever the market is going to do. So what does that mean? The money that I've accumulated up until that point may take a hit. And when it takes a hit, how much time is it going to take for me to recover and get back to where I was before the transition of power? I don't have time to be affected by any of that. So what we have to do is we make sure we have to put our money in a position to where it's secure. Well, once it's secure, then we can compound it. Well, what does that mean? We can get our money compounding to the point where our money's making money, and the money that our money makes more money. Well, one of the pieces of this, or one of the major pieces of this equation that gets overlooked is that X. Well, the way wealthy people make more money is they stop using their own. They use other people's money to help make them more money. Well, when you apply the exponential growth part, the leverage, the use of other people's money to this equation, what it does, it allows your money to make money, and that money that your money makes more money over time, which puts your money in a position to where it's protected. Meaning you can now live off leveraged money, which means you're not spending your own. So therefore, there's not a risk of running out. So is it too late? Absolutely not. But what you have to do is make sure anything that you're using to be able to generate wealth fits in this equation. And just so we're clear, each one of these variables has its own ability to make you a millionaire. Pay yourself first. Those are the cash only people. So I won't go through all of them, but my point is each variable in this equation has the ability to help you hit your goal. But the key is putting all of these pieces together so that you can hit your goal. A lot of words, sweetheart. My bad.
Okay, no, that's okay. So Mexican American says, I got two 18-year-olds.
I love the name.
I
I love the name.
Well, listen to this because you're going to love this. I got two 18-year-olds that are entering the workforce this year. I'm forcing them both to invest in 401k, self-directed, and life insurance in their future now. First check has to have money going into one of these types of accounts. I know that they're not going to be happy about this, so I gave them the option to either invest in themselves or pay me rent. My wife thinks I'm a little extreme on my terms. What do you guys think about the option that I gave my kids?
You want me to do it or you want to do it?
Man, will you go first? Because You're in the right place, by the way. I don't know that you're going to get anyone pushing back on this, but I will say, okay, well, fine, I'll go first.
I know
I will
you will.
say, okay, hold on. We'll just come up here. I will say this. We also have an arrangement like this in our home. Here's the issue that we have, because we were kind of pioneering this. Like, there was nobody who had like rules for how to do this and how to roll this out in your family, right? The why is so important, because to them, they're just doing something that they think is really premature. And why can't they just live their life, right? And why won't you let them be great? They're not, if they don't understand why you're asking them to do these things, and how important it is that they start now, today, then they will intentionally sabotage, thinking to themselves, what is the difference if I'm having to give them money and I'm still ending up broke? What's the difference? Why don't I just being broke now? If it doesn't matter to me, and all they see is the lack of resources, or that you're taking from them, and then it becomes a completely different perspective for them in regards to how they're doing it. So when your wife is maybe thinking you're being a little extreme, maybe she also is looking at it through a different lens as well. So I think that being on the same page, everybody get in the boat. That's really what it is you got to get everybody in the boat, so that you understand that when you're asking them to do things because you're wanting to answer the will it make the boat go faster question with the answer yes, you understand that when they're not going to be standing up rocking the boat, and it's just going to be a frustrating experience for you. It has to be that everybody's on board, and that can be a very challenging thing. But I think it starts with you starting to just speak the language and starting to educate them and bring up having those conversations to help open up their view to what, like, the problem that they cannot see in front of them. If they don't know that something is going to hurt them, right? Like the burner on the stove, if they don't understand that it's going to burn when they put their hand on it, then you telling them not to touch it is only as good as when you're around, they won't touch it, right? Because they're only touching it because you told them not to, not because they understand that's going to hurt me, right? So I think preparing for their future is the same thing. Like, inflation is going to really mess me up. Like, yeah, I'm not going to like that a lot. It's going to hurt me, essentially. Inflation is something that we can only prepare for. And the information is the key to unlocking that door. So that's what I would say. Kudos to you. Well done. Love it. I'm pulling back up the first part of that structure of their
And
comment.
there's, you,
Ooh, even better. Hold on. Let me go get the last part of this comment, because we understand, okay? I have two older kids, 20 I have two older kids, 27 and 26, that didn't listen to me, and at that age they both struggle with money. So now the kids I have, younger kids, I have no choice but to do this way. We have to max all of our efforts.
see, we've got a lot to discuss today. And I think we could do a whole live on this subject, mainly because we are in the midst of it. And this is not a fun conversation. It's not a fun experience, but it's a have to. And I think here's the truth about it. I think, and I think there's a lot of us on this live that can probably relate. We have fought pretty hard to make sure our kids didn't go through, didn't deal with, didn't have the challenges that we've had. But what we can't deny is a lot of the challenges and a lot of the issues that we dealt with, that we personally dealt with as young people, gave us a certain drive to make sure this would never happen to our children. But what did we create in the process? We created a generation of people who may not understand why we are taking some of the actions that we're taking. They may not understand because we've gave them a platform to stand on that is a bit more stable than we could ever imagine. And so then how do we make that shift? How do we turn that corner to be able to make sure these young people that we have, that we are responsible for leading, have the tools? Can I be honest? You and I don't have that answer.
Right.
So therefore, the steps that you're taking that may feel a little forced, yeah, we're in the midst of doing the same thing. Does it feel good? No, it doesn't. What I would hope is that maybe you and your wife also get on the same page with it, because that's going to make it even more challenging.
Yeah. That
So
part.
are you doing the right thing, or what do we think about it? We think how about this? We're in the midst of doing it, and as I mentioned, I think we could probably do a whole live on this subject.
Here's the point though. This is why community matters so much, and why we need to have support in all aspects. There are people in our community who don't have kids, right? That's okay. There are people in this community who do have kids, who have older kids, who have younger kids. There are people in their community who are grandparents and really focused on legacy, right? Because they've already started like their generations that need generational wealth. There's people are all over the board in terms of where they are. But the one thing that we don't have is a handbook. We don't. None of us. Whether you have kids and you're just lifing on your own out here unsupervised, we're all unsupervised, and it's all a new level. Like, and you go play the video game, Mario, for instance, and you go and you jump down the flagpole, and now you're going to a new level, and you just learned all of the obstacles that were in that one level. You could go back to the beginning and you'll remember where all those obstacles were for that level. But the second that you go to the new level, now something's going to come up and bite you because you don't know that it's there, right? It's all new every single time. A lot of people just continue to go back and play the same level because they're afraid to move forward. And that keeps them safe, right? It keeps it familiar, keeps it safe. Nope, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing because I know how to do this. But we don't evolve that way, right? We don't continue to get better. We don't continue to grow, and those particular systems and traditional ways of doing things are not serving us today. We have to start having new conversations. In order to do that, we have to have people to bounce things off of who understand it, who get it. And that's where the community part comes in. So if you guys want to have these conversations here on our channel, I would love to do that. And especially in the Facebook group where we can have, where more people can jump in and we could be more of that conversation, or on a self-directed Saturday sessions, right? We can do it that way so people can unmute and have, be a part of the conversation. We're open to any of that. We just got to know. So chime in, let us know. Are you down with that? Is that something that you would participate in? Then we'll just make it happen. But I agree, we do have things to go over tonight. And this wasn't one of those things, but it is a very important thing. And it is something that we are like neck deep in. Some of it is just correcting a course because we weren't on this path, right?
Right.
We're not out here saying that we've been doing all the right things for all this entire time, and now look at how amazing when you do everything perfect. That is not our story. We're pretty transparent about that this is something where we have turned our ship around, our boat. We have completely turned our boat around in a handful of years, and it has significantly impacted generations to come. We know if we could do it, other people could too. So that's why we're out here talking about it. But that does not mean that others around you who were now in their own boat, because they're adulting, right? Or learning too, that you're not going to have to start telling them, going back to go get them or put them in your boat and force them to not have their own boat yet. Like whatever the analogy is for you, right? Whatever that looks like for you. It may be for Sequoia was saying, like, I want to be the wealthy auntie. You may be the most significant person in your niece or nephew's life to help them implement their own journey to this information, right? To level up their future. And they may need an auntie, like they may not get it from their parents, and that's okay. That's why community matters so much. It takes a village, and we fully believe in that. However, that doesn't mean that the people who are currently in your village are on board with moving forward. They may be people who want to play the same level over and over again, and they don't want to learn anything new, and they're afraid to fail. They're afraid to move forward. They're afraid of what could happen, and so therefore they would just rather stay where they are doing the same exact thing. And you can see you're not going to get any result like that. You can't stay with them. So who do you have if you don't have your current community? We have to build one. And if you're watching, you're a part of that. So welcome. Okay, we can move forward, but please chime in and let us know. Do you want to talk about those things? Should we get into the tea on that? I think the answer is yes, is what I'm saying. Okay, so we have Tadams. I love it when she jumps in here. She's just fun to say. So 23,000 for times 2 for a couple is 46. And the match, so she's talking about commingling funds, and she wants to know, is that just everything times 2 if you're commingling in self-directed account?
So short answer to that question is yes. And what she's also saying is she's under the age of 50. So the contribution amount for a 401k is $23,000. So can she contribute 23,000 into the 401k? Yes. Can her husband contribute 23,000 into the 401k? Yes. So that's double the contribution, and you're able to contribute an additional 25% of your income up to 46,000 times 2. It's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot.
And
Okay.
and here's the thing, but 25% of your income up to 46,000. Let's play that out. If the business makes 100,000, 25% of 100,000 is 25. So you can't get close to the 46 unless your business is making enough for you to get close to that 46. But the moral of the story is, yes, it is times 2. Great question.
Yeah, those are great problems to have too. And we have had a lot of people call in, book an appointment with you to help for you to help them determine what that looks like so they can get properly structured. And that's really what those appointments are so good for, is to understand, like, how do I properly structure myself and how do I approach this in my business? Because what you might be thinking might be completely different once you learn the rules. Create a tax shelter, right? There's how to leverage some of this. You might make some different decisions because you understand now what your options are. That, I think, is probably the most game-changing thing for most people, is when they learn the rules and then they go, I wish I would have known that. Even Booker was in here like, why didn't I know this before? Like, this is game-changing, and it is. And the craziest part is it's just information that's been there, right? There's keys now at this point because you already have access to this, a lot of this. And on that note, we'll move to Shannon's question because I think that this applies. Donnell, what if it's a current employer 401k plan? How does that work? There's part 2. Hold on,
So-
there's part 2. There's part 2.
Oh, okay.
There's part 2.
That's part
Okay,
two.
the question
There's
was,
a part 2?
the question
There's
was
a part 2.
Part 2.
There's a part 2.
Yes.
A part
There's
2.
a part. There's a part 2. My question was current employer 401k versus former employer 401k. How to use the current plan.
Yep. So I kind of highlighted this a little bit at the beginning, and let me just restate. Everything that I am walking you through, your current employer's plan has the capability of doing. If you can't do it in your current employer's plan, it is not because the current employer plan isn't capable. It is because the company you work for and the custodian that it's with won't allow it. Hard stop. So why? Why wouldn't your employer want you to be able to do these things? Why wouldn't your current custodian want you to do these things? You have to ask the question, who benefits? Who benefits from you having the account that you have? Is it you or is it your employer? Is there a benefit to your employer having the structure that it has today versus you? And the short answer to that question, it's your employer. Your employer benefits, the custodian benefits. So that's why you aren't capable. So if you have a current employer's plan and you want to take some of the action that I'm kind of walking you through, what you would have to do is move funds from your current employer plan into your own self-directed retirement account so that you then have control over those dollars. Well, how do you do that? Well, you have to ask for what's called, words I use. I said you have to ask. You have to get their permission to be able to do an in-service transfer. What is an in-service transfer? What you're asking your employer is, hey, I would like to use some of this money or move some of this money that you have slated for my retirement that you currently control. I would like to move some of these funds penalty-free, tax-free into a different retirement account so that I can then have more control over those dollars. There are employers out there that will allow this. I've seen it mainly I've seen it in the industry of, I'll call it the military, because 9 times out of 10, there are these people in high positions who have large amounts in their retirement. And at some point, this becomes a little bit of a liability to the company that you work for. So they allow you to take a portion, maybe not all, but take a portion and move it. In addition, if you're at retirement age at the company that you work for, most of the time you can do an in-service transfer for everything that you have contributed. So if you let me use round numbers. Let's say you're over the age of you're over the age of 59 and a half, but you're still working for the company, which means you can retire tomorrow, but you haven't. That dollar amount that's sitting in your employer's retirement, a large portion of that is yours. The portion that you contributed, that's your money. And because you're 59 and a half, you can now access your money in your retirement account. So you can do what's called an in-service transfer over your basis, over the amount that you've contributed. Your company that you work for might actually allow you to take what they've matched or take what has grown as well. Will they, won't they? It depends on the company. But the bottom line is that's another, so then you would be able to move those funds that you contributed into your own self-directed 401k, penalty-free, tax-free, to be able to use for whatever you want. Moral of the story here is it depends on whether or not your employer will allow. So what you would want to ask for is a in-service transfer. But most of us who have a W-2 job, who have a 401k with that job, we can borrow from our company's 401k, our company's 403b, our company's TSP. We can already borrow from it. The difference between the two, and you'll learn this as I move through the presentation, the difference is when you borrow from your company's retirement account, you are subject to their rules. They set the interest rate, they set the terms, they set the amount that you are able to withdraw or borrow, and they set the time frame in which you have to pay it back, even though those rules are already set by the IRS. But because they have the autonomy, the flexibility, they own those retirement accounts, they can actually make those rules and decide what those rules are, regardless of what the IRS may or may not say. So hopefully that helps.
Well, I think it helps. There's another, did you answer this question? But can we transfer a current plan to a self-directed 401k?
That was
in
the
the chat.
whole in-service transfer. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
No problem. So, but yes, I did answer it because that's the in-service transfer portion. Meaning, if that's something that you're wanting to do, you have to ask their permission. They have every right to say no, just so we're clear. And I'd say if you were to put 10 companies in front of me, maybe 2 of them would allow an in-service transfer. It is fairly rare, but it doesn't hurt to ask because you never know.
Yeah.
Don't know unless you ask.
Right. Brenda says habits may not always be understood, but will darn sure be appreciated down the road. Not prepping us is mild child abuse. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. And Piki says hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Communicating truth and principles is key to maintaining strength. Absolutely. Understanding the why, I think, is important, just as important as understanding the how. So what we're going to move into is how to leverage, and why you would want to be able to do that is, I think, laced in there. But how to leverage so that you understand where your options are, where your freedom is, right? And I think this is probably the most underrated part of this vehicle, is how you can leverage it in this way. So I hope that this makes sense. If you have any questions about this stuff coming up, we have some really good comments. We have some great people in here. Matter of fact, Alex and Galen are on tonight. We probably could have talked to them forever. That was such a good time. Okay, so I think I've got through the majority of this stuff so far. If you have a question coming up, please put a Q, and then we can identify it and put it in the queue for the next little break for questions. Okay. All right. We moving back in?
Let's do it.
There we go. All right.
So as I mentioned, when you're leveraging money from your 401k, the prohibited transactions do not apply. Disqualified persons don't apply. And we're going to walk through now what that borrowed amount would be. And again, the answer to the test as it relates to how to avoid taxes and penalties, because it's a leveraged dollar amount, there are no taxes. There are no penalty. There's no penalty. And then how do you go about it? We're also going to address one other thing that just dawned on me, and I don't know that I'm addressing this through the presentation. Let me think. I don't think I am. One other thing to note around how to avoid taxes and penalty. If you are leveraging money from your 401k, and the reason this comes up to mind, I was thinking about TDAMS, and this may be something that's impactful for you. So not only are you able to borrow against your 401k and use those dollars for whatever you want, but the interest that you pay back yourself, you're actually able to take the tax write-off as well, which means that's a double dip. And I don't know that I'm addressing this anywhere in the presentation, but it dawned on me because she had mentioned being a small business. That's one of the
Right.
things that people don't realize is, even though, because we're going to walk through the steps and how you pay yourself back and all that kind of stuff. But you borrow a dollar amount from your 401k, you use that dollar amount for whatever you want. You do have to pay yourself back with interest back to your 401k, but that interest that you pay back is also a tax deduction. It's pretty powerful.
You know what's crazy though? You shouldn't have to know all of these things, because if you have somebody helping you with your taxes, they should already know all of this. Don't you think so? It's like going to the doctor and then telling them all your symptoms, and then you're like, oh, but I forgot to tell them what possible things I could be diagnosed with in order for them to be able to truly help me. I should have went to medical school first, then booked a doctor appointment so that I could get the help that I needed. Make
Okay.
it make sense.
But I got to give it back to you, because you got to peel that back. You just mentioned a doctor. When was the last time you went to the eye doctor and they talked to you about what your heart is doing? Right? Meaning those doctors are selling products too, which means when you go to your financial advisor, what are you actually getting from your financial advisor?
Right, but I'm talking about, we already know that part, but I'm just talking about everybody who is around your money. Why aren't they all educated on these things? You have to walk in there half the time and say, okay, I know that we can take, I know I can write this, and this off. They're not coming up helping you with a strategy on how to save more, how to create tax shelters, those types of things. And that is wrong. It's flawed. Because what are they doing if you're having to tell them how to do their job? I'm going to get off this rant so we can get through this stuff tonight.
But
But
still on the same line though, what you're asking for is a financial advisor that provides a holistic approach. No different than if you're at a doctor, you would want a doctor who's providing a holistic approach that can give you a full perspective as to how all of the things work together. And again, your financial advisor is there to sell you a product, right? So there's
yeah,
a reason why. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just saying there is a reason why. That's all.
yeah. Well, moving on. We're just going to move on because now I'm triggered
I know
again.
you are.
This type of stuff is just irritating the mess out of me.
Hi, Patty.
But who else? Who else do we need to come for in regards to they need to step up and do their job? Or maybe it just should be like a level of certification. You have to know these things in order to call yourself this title, or to get this title, or to be inside of this career, or to have people actually pay you for what it is that you're saying that you do. If you can't do these things, then call yourself something else. But don't call yourself a CPA, right? Don't call yourself a tax expert or whatever if you don't even understand the basics of this stuff. It is infuriating to think that we have to be the experts on everything, yet we don't have the degrees and we're not getting paid those rates either, right? So pay me. Pay me. If I have to go research this stuff myself and then bring it to you, and this is your job, you're paying me. New rule. That's the new rule. But okay, moving on.
And we're back. So what are you able to borrow leverage against your retirement account? That leverage looks like this: 50% of what you have in it up to $50,000. So the maximum amount, regardless of the dollar amount, that you're able to borrow against your 401k is $50K. So 50% of what's in it up to $50,000. So what that means is if you have a total of $200,000 inside of your 401k, The max you can leverage, borrow against is 50,000. If you only have 60,000 in your 401k, the max you can take is 50%, which is 30,000. So it's pretty simple. Now, if you have a spouse and you guys are commingling funds inside of that 401k, meaning you've got some old IRAs, 401k sitting out there not doing a whole lot, and we create a self-directed 401k and you transfer those funds into that 401k, and your spouse has an old 403b and a TSP that she also transfers penalty-free, tax-free into that same 401k, then this number is still 50% of what's in it up to $50,000, but it's times two, which means now you're able to leverage a much larger dollar amount. And so how much is based off what you have, but it's a max of $50,000. And so just a quick example, and pretty basic. If Evan wants to borrow against this 401k, what's that maximum amount that he can borrow? Well, if he's got $80,000 inside of his 401k, the max that he's able to borrow would be $50,000. Pretty simple. Now, whether or not he needs $50,000, that's a whole nother story. But the max that he's able to borrow would be 50% of what he has in it. And so kind of just following this through, well, what if Evan had already, I got to make that a little bit smaller. What if Evan had already borrowed against his 401k? He had borrowed $27,000. If he's already borrowed $27,000 from his 401k, meaning he has the capability of borrowing 40, he only needed 27 to do velocity banking. And then once he did velocity banking, he used the remainder to put inside of a secure compound interest account. And now he just sat through this 3-day academy talking about self-storage. And now he's eager to be able to put some more of his money to work inside of a self-storage opportunity. And he doesn't want to buy the self-storage or use his 401k to invest in the self-storage opportunity. He wants to borrow money from his 401k so that any growth on that dollar amount from a self-storage perspective is coming back to him as income or as profit. And so he's already borrowed $27,000. He's paid back $9,000. So if he's borrowed 27, paid back 9, that means he has a deficit. That means he still has $18,000 that he owes. So the question is, can he borrow an additional amount? Can he take an additional loan even though he already has a loan outstanding? And the short answer to that question is yes. It's yes, but it depends on how you're structured. And that's where it matters where you get your self-directed 401k from. There are many custodians out there that will offer you a self-directed 401k. Matter of fact, I had several conversations with individuals over these past 3 days that actually have a self-directed retirement account. Some of the custodians they have a self-directed retirement account with are Equity Trust, even Fidelity. But when you peel back the layers on what does that mean? When you say self-directed, what do you mean? Well, what they meant was, hey, they can invest in any of the mutual funds, stocks, and bonds that Fidelity offers. Meaning they have control over the money at Fidelity and they can invest in whatever Fidelity offers, self-directed. But what I'm saying is, when you have a self-directed 401k, you can invest in anything you want outside of the market, and you can leverage against it to be able to do whatever you want as well. And so in this case, he's got a $27,000 outstanding loan. He's already paid back 9. He still owes 18. Can he take an additional loan? The absolute answer is yes. Why? Because his plan documents are structured so that he can. What you're going to learn at the moral of the story about everything that we're going to discuss today is it's all about structure. And so what you want to do is make sure your plan documents are structured properly to be able to do what you want. So this is the question. If he wants to take an additional, let's see, I'll make it a little bit bigger. And I'm not wanting you to be able to read this document that's next to it. The key question is, if he's got $40,000 outstanding and not outstanding. I'm sorry. If he's got a $40,000 loan that he's able to take from his 401k, and he's got $27,000 in a loan that he's already taken, and this is these are the procedures. This is the process of how you take that loan. We'll go over it, but my point is, it's detailed. So he did everything right. He's got this $27,000 loan outstanding. He wants to take an additional loan to be able to invest in self-storage. How much more of a loan can he take? Conventional wisdom would say, okay, $40,000 minus the $27,000 outstanding loan, he has an additional $13,000 that he should be able to take as a loan. So is that true or is that false? And the answer to that question is it's false. Meaning it's not $13,000 that he can take as a loan. Let's walk through what that would look like. And if I can remember how to do it. So he has $80K in his 401k. 50% of that is 40. Okay. He's paid back a certain portion. He's paid back, 18 grand so far? So in essence, I'm sorry, he hasn't paid back 18 grand. He's got an $80,000 loan that he can take. He has an outstanding loan of $27,000. He's paid back $9,000, which means there's $18,000 still outstanding. So what that means is it's not $18,000 that's available. It's 18 minus the $18K that was outstanding. And so therefore what's left? What's left is 62. So therefore 50% of 62 means that if he wanted to take another loan, if he wanted to leverage or borrow against his 401k, there's an additional $31,000 that's available. And again, if you were borrowing from your company's retirement account and you took that $27,000, do you think they would let you borrow an additional $31,000 from your 401k? Anyone who's ever done this knows that you have to pay back the full amount before you take another loan. They will not allow you to take an additional loan unless you've paid back the full amount. Where in this case, because you have your own self-directed 401k properly structured, even though you've already leveraged against it, and yes, you've been paying it back, and then that $9,000 that you've paid back and the $18,000 that you owe is already under its own agreement. It's already under its own process. It's already has its own loan documents, and you're already committed to paying it back. But when you do the math on what additional dollar amount can you take, hey, I've got $18,000 outstanding. 18 minus 80 is, 62. Is it 62? Yeah, 62,000. I had to make sure my math was right. 62,000. And so 50% of that is 31, which means there's a larger dollar amount that I have access to, which means what can I do with that self-storage facility? What can I do with that self-storage opportunity inside of the space that we were kind of speaking to over these last few days? That gives me a much larger dollar amount to be able to invest with, even though I still have an outstanding loan. And then as dollar amounts start to compound and grow, that means in the following years, in the coming months, in the coming years, I can still continue to leverage and borrow against it, continue to build. Like it just compounds and continue. And remember this, the interest that I pay back to myself is interest that I can also take the tax deduction on. So pretty powerful. Let's see. Yeah, we're good. So moral of the story, that maximum amount that you're able to contribute or borrow against your 401k is $50,000. And you don't want to go over that. Why? If you go over that, what happens? If you were to go over that dollar amount, the portion of the loan that exceeds the maximum, meaning if you can only borrow 50%, in this case, $80,000, 50% of 80,000 is 40. If you ended up borrowing 50, then that $10,000 that you borrow becomes deemed a distribution and it becomes taxed and penalized. And any outstanding portion from that loan, meaning if you borrowed 50 instead of 40, and you've only paid back 9,000, the difference between the max that you've taken and the 9,000 that you owe becomes a distribution, which means now you owe tax and penalty on all of that. And moral of the story here, though, is you don't want to put yourself in a position to where, one, the IRS knocks on your door, questions what it is you're doing, and then two, the entire amount that you ended up leveraging becomes a full distribution that you end up owing somewhere upwards of around 30% on. Because when I say tax and penalty, that tax depends on the tax bracket that you're in, but for most people, it's around 20%. That penalty, in most cases, the penalty is 10%. I have seen 15, depending on the type of loan and how the documents are designed. But in what we how things are structured on our end, it's that 20% plus an additional 10 being the penalty. And you don't have to believe me. We talk a lot about getting self directed and doing your own homework and research. Take a picture, copy this QR code, do whatever you need to do because everything that I've just walked you through is highlighted and detailed at irs.gov. So use this. So here's why I share this. You're going to run into your CPA and they're going to question everything that I've just shared with you. You don't have to send them the link to the live. Let me move this over. Come on in here, sweetheart.
No, I just came in to throw a side eye for isn't that facts? Because they're going to question how they should do their job. I'm going to stop there.
And the key is, don't believe me. Send them to irs.gov and everything that I've just walked you through is detailed right here.
Yeah. Just send them to bearealcpa.com if they're asking these questions. And if they're not asking these questions and they know the what's up and they understand all of this, send them our way so we could put them on a directory of people who actually do their jobs. Let's start a directory of really great professionals who are out here understanding and respectful of people who are learning for themselves so that they can advocate for themselves. And they are here to enhance that, right? And further educate you on what your strategy could be. I think that's the recipe here is who cares what people are or aren't doing out there? Let's just go find those who are amazing at their job so that we can lift them up, right? They deserve it because they've done the work. So we're in the chat. People are saying, yes, let's. The queen is like, where's the sound effects? Let's uplift those who are doing their job because otherwise we're just out here trying to do our best, swimming amongst people who are not willing to get in their own boat and move it, and they're just looking to hold on to yours. There you go.
True story.
That's not a vibe. Okay, so now we're talking about the loan docs. This is the how, right?
Right. That is
How
correct.
the steps on how you take a loan from your 401k. This is exactly how to do it.
And again, the objective isn't, hey, I can't read what it is on the screen. What I want to do is just highlight the three types of documents.
We have this though. We have this
Sweetheart.
for them to see, right? Better.
Sweetheart, I got it.
We're married, y'all. You know that, right? Though. Okay, bye. All right. And now back to loan docs.
Let me know when you want the pen, sweetheart.
Yeah, go ahead. No, take it away.
So there are three types of documents as it relates to leveraging or borrowing against your retirement account that you want to be aware of. And they're pretty simple documents, meaning it all starts first with, let me change the color here. It all starts first with the application. And it's a pretty simple application. Matter of fact, this can easily be generated or identified or Googled to be able to assess what type of application is required. Because here's the key piece that you have to remember about all three of these documents. Who are they for? They're for you. All three of these documents are for you to borrow from you. You are the trustee of your 401k. Trustee means you are the sole decision maker of your 401k. So therefore, you are the one who determines how much of a loan can be taken. You are the one that determines what that interest rate should be. You are the one that determines the frequency as to which that loan should be paid back. And you are the one who's going to hold you accountable to making sure that happens. So this loan application is between you and you. There's two signatures down here. There's you as the participant, as you as the borrower, and then there's you as the plan administrator or you as the trustee of the 401k. Meaning you've applied for the loan and now you're going to generate the promissory note, which says this is the agreement between you and you to be able to borrow this dollar amount. And it will consist of how much, the interest rate, and the terms, and is going to be signed by you as the borrower and you as the trustee of the 401k. And the last piece, and this is the one that people tend to forget, depending on your state, It may require your spouse. It may require your significant other to approve your loan from you to you. And again, these are steps that you do not want to miss, meaning you first have to apply for a loan from yourself. You then have to generate the agreement, the binding agreement, the promissory note, the contract, and you also have to get approval from your wife to allow it to happen. And again, the signature on this document is your spouse and you. There's no one else. And you're right. So I do have what this looks like. The promissory note, again, is pretty simple. It is not complicated. This is a simple sample as to what this would look like, but it does start with, I promise to pay the trustees of this 401k. Whose 401k is it? It's mine. So whoever I am, Joe, I agree to pay to the order of the trustees of the Joe Sample 401k, and the terms and conditions are all detailed inside of this sample sample promissory note. And then what the actual promissory note looks like, the key piece here for me is this piece. Who signs it? Who signs it and how? I'll bring that up some. I am signing it as the borrower, and I am also signing it as the 401k trustee. And then the details, this is a pretty old document. It talks about a percentage rate of about 4.25%. How do you determine what the interest rate should be that you're going to charge yourself? Well, when you click on that QR code, you will find that it also states what the conditions are and what that interest rate should be, but it's pretty vague in how it's articulated. I think I wrote it down. Give me just a minute. What it states is the payment should be done in substantial level payments. Very vague. That says nothing. What that means, though, is you get to determine what that looks like. So substantial level payments, and I think it also states not to exceed quarterly. So at a minimum, quarterly. So therefore, you can pay back monthly, biweekly, weekly if you want it, all the way through to quarterly, but not necessarily semi-annual. There's nothing that stated semi-annual. They said at minimum quarterly. So level substantial payments is what it should be distributed in. And as far as the interest rate, it listed as prime plus 1 or 2% is usually the guideline that we use. But here's what I usually tell clients as it relates to the interest rate you want to charge. Let's say you were going to use this dollar amount to go buy a vehicle. And let's say your current credit is not in a great position, in great standing. So if you went to a dealership to purchase a vehicle, they were going to charge you some erroneous or outrageous interest rate. Well, if you're going to buy that vehicle using your leveraged dollars instead of borrowing that money from a bank to be able to buy that car, and you know that interest rate was going to be high, can you charge yourself the same interest rate the bank was going to charge you? You absolutely can. And you justify it because that's what you were going to actually end up spending at the bank anyway. So why can't you charge yourself? Why can't you pay back yourself? And as I mentioned, that interest is also tax deductible. So you do have the ability to set that interest rate. Again, the guideline that I use is traditionally prime plus 1 or 2%. But if with interest rates being so high, if you just wanted to use prime, there's no one stopping you or no one preventing you from doing that. And then let's see here. And this last piece, or not last piece, the application again is pretty simple. There's nothing, I'll call it, complicated about the contents in it. It's who's borrowing, name, social, all that kind of stuff. And notice, it asks for a social security number. You are borrowing from you. So you absolutely can put on file. You already got it. Because again, where is this information going? When you fill out the information in this application, again, applying from you to you, where is this information going? It's going into this file. It's going to the file for you to keep in case someone questions where this money came from. Who would be the someone? In case you were audited. If God forbid you were ever audited, you have the documentation located in your file that states this. All of the information you need as to how this money was used is right here. I've got my application, I've got my promissory note, and then the last piece being, my wife said it was okay. And that's all this is saying. Because I live in a state that requires it, and again, it depends on the state that you're in. But for most of us who live in a state that requires approval, this is the document that states, my wife said it's okay for us to borrow this money and use it for our future. And again, you're not sending this to a bank. You're not sending this to a custodian. You're not sending this to an employer. You're not sending this to the IRS. You're simply filing it in case it's needed, and you have to justify where this money went. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Okay. Tadam says, are these loan docs through Titan Bank? And I was just clarifying through the custodian that you have,
Yep,
whoever
yep.
that is.
So there's several custodians we use to generate our 401ks. These documents all come through me. If you need these documents, then I will absolutely share them with you. A lot of them, maybe not the templates, but the rules are already in it. And again, just so we're clear, Tadams is a person who already has a self-directed 401k through me. And if she was to go to her, what's the word? What is it called, sweetheart?
We've officially
Dropbox.
nicknamed her Tadams,
Damn,
by the
I love
way.
it. I love it.
I love it.
Dropbox. If she was to go to her Dropbox, I'll call it the foundation of these documents are already there. What may not be there are the actual samples, and that's something you can get from me. But regardless, when you need these documents, I would provide these documents. I think a better question is, if you've got a self-directed 401k with Equity Trust, where do you get these documents? If you've got a self-directed 401k with some other company, where do you get these documents? I can't tell you. But everything that you would need, everything that I'm sharing with you right now, you will absolutely get from me, and I can email it to you with no problem.
Gosh, I'm over here, Rusty. They are like, girl, put the banner up. Cover yourself. What's that?
Right.
What's that acronym? Okay, all right. Oh, moving on. Because Veronica asked, where do you get the documents from? So I'm glad that you answered that.
Yep.
Okay.
And I've been talking about custodians all day, right? The truth is, the custodian is just a bank. There's nothing special. There's nothing tricky about this word. And at the core, a custodian is just a bank. The key is the type of bank. What type of bank are they?
Yeah.
And there's 3 different types. I might even have that slide. There's 3 different types. I don't think I do. I don't. All right.
See,
So
you
there's
did it again. First
Pardon
time
me?
we did this, you messed up the joke. You're messing it up again. Who hurt you? Why are you messing up my jokes?
There's a lot of things that I am. One of them is not a comedian.
Clearly.
But
Dang it.
again, moral of the story is we talk a lot about custodians, and the truth of the matter is custodians are just banks. They're basic. There's nothing special about them. And the banks that we use for our self-directed 401k, they are actually passive banks, meaning their job is to hold your money. Which is why when you're filling out these forms and you're doing all of your due diligence to make sure you're leveraging and borrowing your money in the right fashion, the reason you are keeping these documents is because you are the one responsible. You're the sole decision maker. The IRS is not going to go to your custodian and ask, hey, where are the loan documents for the amount that the dams had taken to be able to go fix the roof on a rental property? They're not going to ask that. They're going to come to you, because the custodian has no idea what you are or are not doing with your money, because they are passive, meaning the money is just designed to be protected from an FDIC perspective and to be able to be leveraged when you need to. But the bottom line is they do nothing else other than that. They are just a bank.
But that is not the case for everybody, because there are, if you remember when we went over the stream, if you don't, I think it's okay to remind people in this, while we're here, about passive versus active custodians, because they're not the same. Just because the word custodian does not have the same function depending on who you get a self-directed account through. Very big time.
Okay, so let's do it. So
Yeah,
active
let's-
versus passive
let's do
custodian.
it.
There's
do it.
3 different levels of custodian that I deal with, that we all deal with. One is, the first custodian is, you can invest, your money can be used to access and do whatever that bank allows you to do. So if you've ever had a Bank of America, Fidelity, Vanguard, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, when you put your money with them, you can access it and you can use that money for whatever they allow you to use it for. Meaning, if it's Fidelity, you can take those funds and you can invest in any of the mutual fund stocks and bonds they have. and they have to be involved in this process, which is why you can only invest in what they offer. If you have Bank of America, yes, you have a checking account with them, you have a savings account with them, but as far as you being able to use those funds for anything other than what Bank of America has structured or allowed those accounts for you to be able to do, it doesn't exist. So they are, meaning active as in they are an active part of the process. Well, then there's those active custodians who are an active custodian, but they portray themselves as they are behaving as a passive custodian, meaning there's these equity trust. The equity trust is the one that always comes to mind. Equity trust, IRA services. There are these custodians out there where you can actually have a self-directed 401k and be able to invest in non-traditional investments the way you want. Well, the thing about those active custodians who are acting as though they are passive and allowing you to be able to invest in what you want, the thing about that is every time you go to take action, when you go to, I'll call it, use your 401k to buy a self-storage facility, the entire portfolio of that self-storage facility has to go to them. And they are going to review that portfolio to make sure all of the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. They are doing it to protect you. Well, once they've gone through the process of assessing whether or not this is a viable option for you to invest in, then they provide it back to you and say, yes, feel free to write the check, or they write the check for you for the investment. Well, any of you who have spent any time investing, you know that in most cases, time is very important, meaning you don't have a lot of it. So if you're going to take advantage of an opportunity, 9 times out of 10, when you're investing, there's someone competing against you. And they are hoping that you take longer than they do so they can buy it right out from under you. And in most cases, that's what happens because they don't have the same sense of urgency as you. And because they don't have the same sense of urgency of you, 9 times out of 10, what happens is the investment that you're looking to invest in is gone by the time you're able to take action. And I am not speaking from a position of, I just don't like those types of custodians. I'm speaking from a position of, it's exactly what happened to us. When we originally started this process and we had our own self-directed IRA, using our self-directed IRA to invest in non-traditional investments, we were working with IRA services.
Yeah.
And every time I went to take action, I would go to get their approval. And every time, by the time I got their approval back, the opportunity I was looking to invest in, they had moved on because I didn't have they didn't have the amount of time to wait. So they were looking for investors to be able to take action. And I missed out on a few different opportunities.
Yep.
So again, I'm not speaking from a position of, I don't know what I'm talking about. This is exactly what happened. Well, the custodians that we use for our self-directed retirement accounts are completely passive, meaning you are the sole decision maker. You are the one that's going to decide what action can or cannot be taken using the custodians that we're working with. What's up?
No, it's just that we had a slide that had questions that you were just answering. And again, just didn't want to use it. That's fine.
No, we just haven't gotten there yet.
No, we already went there. We're past it now. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. Okay.
So the only other last piece that we just need to highlight here is the timing.
Yes.
Meaning, once you have this self-directed 401k, once you've leveraged against it, once you've borrowed the dollar amount to be able to be used for whatever it is you wanted to use it for, okay, you've loaned against your 401k. Now we just have to make sure we adhere to the agreement. And ultimately what that means is you have 5 years to pay back the loan.
Yeah.
And again, that frequency, whether that payment is weekly, monthly, quarterly, or whatever the case may be, you have 5 years to be able to pay it back. You can pay it back before then. And again, you can continue to use the leverage dollar amounts, even though you still have an outstanding loan. But one key piece that I like to always mention is that 5 years matters. But if you were to use that 401k, if you were to borrow against your 401k and use those leverage dollars to purchase a primary residence, then instead of 5 years to pay it back, you actually have 15.
Yeah. I love that information. Knowledge is power. Also, our community is trying to help you out by just saying maybe it would be worth it to work on some jokes. Just saying, maybe you could work it in. 5 minutes a day could be all it takes.
So people think when I say I'm an engineer, I don't know that they fully understand what that means.
Like, you
I
break
think
the
I'm
joke
pretty
down
dang
until
funny.
it's not funny anymore.
Hold on. I think I'm pretty dang funny, but when it comes to math, I zone out.
Yeah. Just some people don't. Some people zone out because you are diving into the
Hey,
math.
I tell you all the time, this is not sexy.
Yeah. Well,
That's why we got you.
take every color make takes every color to make a rainbow. All I'm saying is just I threw the jokes to you, put them in your court.
I know it was alley-oop,
Yeah, and
and I
then
missed the dunk. But we live to fight another day.
we sure do. Okay. All right. Next part is well, now we're past all this. It's not even funny anymore.
Well, it's not funny, but I don't know that we addressed everything.
No, it's timing. Timing. There's timing about jokes, babe. You're missing the whole
Dun-dun-dun.
point. Yeah. It's not. Just move on. It's fine. It's fine, guys. We're moving on.
Patty's lip is all poked out.
Yeah. And y'all still together. Squeeze. It's true. It's true. All right. So what was the next part again? The timing. Timing.
Yep. So, and what it boils down to is being able to making sure. Actually, that was the slide before, but I had kind of talked through it, and that is when you determine or dictate how you're going to pay that loan back. You have that 5-year period. Again, it can be monthly, quarterly. It does not matter. You decide. You set those rules, but the key is not to exceed that 5-year mark. And if you again use that dollar amount to be able to pay for your primary residence, you have 15 years. And so last piece would be some of the consistent questions that we also get. And that is, why does this feel like a facade? What does this process, or why does this process exist? And I think the two answers to those two questions is who benefits by you not understanding or knowing it? And also who benefits from the fact that this doesn't feel like something that's even possible. And it's because I go back to my original statement when we started. The 401k or the IRA or the 403b, TSP, government 457 plan, 401a, all of those retirement-based accounts that you have are controlled by the company that you work for. They are not yours. And so the guidelines, the rules are being dictated to you by the company who owns it and the custodian bank that are housing those funds. And so until your employer gets on board with some of these adjustments or some of these rules, it is not going to happen. So you do have the ability to ask. You do have the ability to request an in-service transfer to be able to at least maybe move your basis into another qualified account. And again, I say these words with the impression that you may understand what it is I'm talking about. And sometimes I don't peel back enough layers to explain what I mean. When I'm talking about an in-service transfer, the reason I'm saying specifically an in-service transfer is because it's a penalty-free, tax-free move to move qualified money, which is retirement dollars, from the qualified plan that it's in into another qualified account. So if it's not an in-service transfer and it's just a flat out withdrawal, you're going to be taxed and penalized. Even if you withdraw it and then try to move it into another qualified account. Well, when you withdraw it from your company's retirement account, they're going to hold back the taxes. And in most cases, they hold the taxes, and they may require the penalty come out before you even receive it. So we don't want to do that. We want to transfer the funds penalty-free, tax-free, so you get the full amount, and then you can take action from there. So again, it's just a request. And then why don't more people use this process, and how do you make it foolproof? Well, again, why don't most people use it the biggest reason is because you don't know what you don't know. And again, why don't you know? It's because the people who control these dollars benefit from them more than you. You do not own your company's retirement account until you leave that company. Once you leave that company, then it's yours. Once you leave that company, then you can take action how you would want. So if you're still working for the company, you don't own it, is the moral of the story. And then the foolproof part, everything that I've shared with you can be found in that QR code. Everything that I shared with you is the process itself is absolutely foolproof because of the structure, how your 401k is designed. Every retirement account has the capability to have this same structure. And so, where do you find the structure associated with an account like this? It's in your operating agreement. It is pulled together by myself and our admin, our legal team, to be able to make sure the structure inside of your 401k fits and matches everything that is sitting in that QR code that we sent forward. That's it.
Yeah. Also, foolproof. It was a joke. Do you get it? It's not funny when you just don't say the joke part. Okay, moving forward. Is that it? Is that all the slides?
That's all the things, sweetheart. That is all the things.
It's all the things. Okay, cool. Well, now I'm gonna tell you, Peaky had to leave earlier because he has a toothache, and he was like, "I gotta lay
Wow.
down. Like I'm not feeling good." And he's like, "I'm sorry, I gotta bow out." He came back in because he was like, Y'all need me in here. He's mathing too hard."
Couldn't stay away. Couldn't stay
Yeah,
away.
he was like, "Man, I got to be out here the speed limit on this seriousness." So we thank you for that, Peaky. We understand that you took one for the team because you're a team player. Came in here, #saved us from joke killer over here. He's unmasking who is killing the jokes around here. Golly.
Bruh.
Okay. If you want to take a loan from your uncle and the uncle can collect from your daughter for a car, but if you wanted to make a loan for your uncle because they're not a disqualified person and the uncle can collect from your daughter for the car, is that a loop? Can we work around that? Is that a gray area?
So let me restate. Actually, let me answer this two different ways. So let me
Okay.
just answer what you asked. But if you wanted to make a loan, and when you say make a loan, you're not saying you're going to borrow the money yourself and then give that loan dollar amount to your uncle. You're saying your uncle is going to be the recipient of the loan
Yes.
because he's not a disqualified person. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Can he use that leverage dollar? Well, first off, once you provide that borrowed dollar amount to your uncle, he's paying interest back to you. So there's that agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And once he has that leverage dollar amount, he can use that leverage dollar amount for whatever he wants. So if he wants to buy your daughter a vehicle or put her in an apartment or whatever the case may be, yes, he can absolutely do that. Not a problem. But I think there may even be a better way. You're providing a loaned dollar amount. Why not write the check directly from the 401k? So we're not talking about loan documents. We're going to simply write a check from the 401k to your uncle. And
Right.
again, you may still create a promissory note to identify what the terms of that agreement are. But once you write that check to your uncle from your 401k, which you are able to do because he is not a disqualified person, so you're spot on with that. Once that's done, he can still take that dollar amount and do whatever he wants. Now, if he happened to be audited, you happen to be audited, if by some weird fashion the IRS got wind of your uncle purchasing a property and putting your daughter in it, it would become a prohibited transaction because a disqualified person is benefiting from it. But again, that's a long walk to take. If you were just asking me, can you lend money to your uncle? The short answer is yes. What your uncle does with that money is not for me to say. So my point is, you have two different actions or options here. You can lend money through the form of a 401k loan to your uncle. Yes, you can. But in addition to that, because he's your uncle, you can write a check directly from that 401k to be invested. So there's two different approaches here.
Okay.
A lot of words.
Bonita earlier had mentioned that her kids were catching on, and when we were talking about the kids
Yep.
and families, leveling up together and trying to educate your family. And I will have to say, Bonita, I don't know if you're still on here, but I think it is the dopest thing to see that when you see parents and then you see kids coming in and they start getting structured, that is warms my heart because it clearly says that you're doing something right, Bonita, by being able to help them understand the why. And you're not the only one. There are a ton of parents out there who are doing the same thing. Some of them, it just starts with the conversation. It starts with a conversation, and that conversation happens to be in with, can I set up a Zoom with you and my kids or
I
you
do it
and
all
my
the time.
parents? You were just talking to a lady and her mom today, right?
So it was a lady, her mom, and her daughter. So
Yep.
I had 3 generations on the Zoom. Absolutely.
Yeah. And for you to be a reason for those conversations to start, like, would they be having those conversations? Sometimes those unions, like, they're like a union that forms out of you saying something and they go, hold on a second. Now they're having these conversations after the call is over, right? Then they get back on the call with you and say, okay, hold on. We were talking all about this, and this is how I think we should be structured. This is how my mom thinks we should be structured. This is how my daughter said something that neither one of us thought of. And that's pretty amazing to walk everybody through so that they are all thinking of this in a collective way. They're not thinking about what's in it for me. They are asking the question of, will it make the boat go faster? What is the goal so that we can all head in that same direction? The point of me bringing this up was just to say, well done. We know that this is not easy for some people. And there are others who are out there who are going, I wish I could just get my wife or my husband to watch the live stream. Veronica is another example of that, of like those small wins that are huge. For some people, they're going, yeah, I told my spouse to come and watch, and they came and watched. But for some others, it took months or almost many months for them to get to the point where they were even willing to tap in at all and be receptive at all. And they are out there doing the work to say, I'm waking them up, but it's going to have to happen slowly because, I still married to this person. And
Well, let me tell you the kind of spouse I am, because this, to put it in perspective.
oh,
I saw a long post from a high school friend of mine on Facebook, long post.
okay.
And because I refused to read the long post, I'd already hearted it and responded. I didn't even read it. I gave it to her and asked her, hey, read this. She's thinking I'm asking her to read it because I want to get her perspective. I just wanted her to read it so I didn't have to. Meaning, if she was to invite me to a live that was 2 hours long to, be able to get educated on some things that I probably needed to know, it would be very difficult for me to do so. So I get it. I get it. I get it. I do.
Yeah,
Get
he
it.
really did hand me his phone, and I was like, wow, gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And he was like, what happened? And I said, well, you just had me read this whole thing. I thought it's so that I could learn what you learned. He was like, no, just tell me what this person's saying because I don't like to read all this stuff.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
He has hacked our marriage. That's what he's done. He's found the loophole. He was like, here's a rabbit hole. Do you want to go? And I was like, yes, I do. Let's dive in. And he was like, yeah, let's. And he's standing at the top like, what's down there? just give me the footnotes. What's down there? Is it worth it?
True story.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Shannon says, so all that is true. That's verified. But that's okay. If you are making an investment in the self-directed 401k, is that considered a loan?
Let me restate the
And
sentence.
yeah, if you are making,
I think I got it.
okay,
I think what she's saying is if you are making an investment from the self-directed 401k, meaning
Yeah.
if you're spending money from the 401k, is that considered a loan? And I think the key piece here is, because this is important. So I'm going to go a long way here, but this is very important.
okay,
When we create a self-directed 401k, what is actually happening? The business that you have, the LLC, S Corp, C Corp, sole proprietorship, 1099 income, whatever it is, that business has a 401k link to it. There is a brick wall between the business that owns the 401k, which you are the manager of, and the 401k, which you are the trustee of. There's a brick wall here. Okay. What the business, the only way money can pass through that big brick wall is if the business is contributing to the 401k. That's the only way you can get money over that brick wall. Otherwise, it's an infinitely tall brick wall and you cannot pass money through it. You can't go the opposite direction. So why do I share this? Okay, so you're the manager of the business and you're the trustee of the 401k. What that means is that 401k is a standalone entity. Any investment made is being made from the 401k. Shannon isn't investing in anything. The 401k is investing. So using the we've been talking a lot about self-storage facility. Let's say you wanted to use your 401k, the $100,000 sitting in your 401k, you wanted to invest in a self-storage facility. Shannon didn't buy anything. The 401k bought it. When you go to sign the paperwork associated with the 401k owning that self-storage facility, it's going to state whatever the name of the PSP 401k account is the owner of this property, signed Shannon, who is the trustee of the 401k, meaning you are acting on behalf of the 401k. Okay, so if the 401k makes an investment, the 401k is purchasing the investment. Any returns, any profit, any growth comes back to the 401k. So is that a loan? It is coming directly from the income inside of that 401k. It's no different than the 401k buying stocks and bonds. Stocks do great, 401k does great. If the stock falls, then the money is lost in the 401k. There's no tax, no penalty, there's no capital gains, there's nothing associated because it's wrapped in, it's sheltered by, it's tax sheltered by this 401k. So it is not a loan. It is a direct purchase from the 401k. In addition to being able to directly purchase self-storage, land, apartment complexes, gold, silver, you name it, you're able to invest from your 401k. In addition to that, you are able to also take a loan, meaning you are able to borrow against your 401k, and now you have this dollar amount and you are able to do and use it however you would like. You don't have to use it in your business. You can personally borrow from the 401k and use that money to do anything. So it's in addition to all of that. Now, what if this was a self-directed IRA? Everything that you wanted to do with the self-directed IRA, meaning buy self-storage, buy land, buy an apartment complex, buy precious metals, you can still do that. But can you, in addition, borrow from your self-directed IRA? You cannot. IRAs do not have that capability. IRAs are not structured to be able to do so. So again, I know I went a long way to do this, but I think you asked a very, very important question because this is a question that I get often because there is some confusion here. That money is coming out of the 401k. So is it a loan or is it a purchase? The truth is it could be both. So, all right.
Okay. Timothy Tinney says, wouldn't the 18K outstanding and the 31K available now be a total of 49K, and that is more than 50% of the 80K?
Yes, that's my point. Like I don't know how to phrase it other than that is the flexibility and the weird like actions that you're able to take inside of a product like this. This is all about structure. Conventional wisdom says, I have 80,000 in my 401k. I borrow for 50% of what's in it. I can only borrow 40 grand. If I've already borrowed 27, conventional wisdom says 40,000 minus 27 that I've already borrowed, I can only borrow 13. That is what conventional wisdom states. But that's not what the IRS said. The IRS said, because you've paid back a portion, which means there's a threshold, and here's why. You have a document that already holds you accountable to that 18,000. So you have a binding contract that says that 18,000 is going to be paid back. So the IRS is saying in good faith, because we know that 18,000 is already coming, we are going to allow you to be able to take full access, use the full leverage capability of this process minus the outstanding 18,000. Like, I think that's pretty powerful, but I think that's the IRS stating, because we've already got you, meaning you've already signed a contract with yourself, because you're already holding yourself accountable, you have access to the remaining dollar amount. But when you do that math, 31,000 that I'm able to borrow plus the 27,000 that I've already borrowed, like, hold on, like that doesn't make any sense. And I think this is one of those situations where I don't know that it has to, because the guidelines state this is what you're capable of doing. And because the guidelines state that, why wouldn't we take advantage of it? This is how the Warren Buffetts are able to pay less tax. I'm going to kind of a roundabout way, but this is why the Warren Buffetts are allowed to pay less taxes than the secretary, because they understand how to use the IRS guidelines in a position to where they are in a more leveraged position. This is what we're doing. We are treating the financial institutions, the banks, and the life insurance companies, and we're using their rules to be able to benefit from. So guess what? When we use their rules, we're putting ourselves in a position to where we can do things that mathematically on the surface don't make sense. But we're allowed to do them. Why? Because we're properly structured, we're self-directed, and we're putting our money in a position to where we can take action, and there's no one that can tell us we can't. Why? Because we've got the documentation to justify it.
Dang. Okay. Jasper says, a lot of those against IUL have mentioned the insurance company can and will lower the cap and increase the cost of borrowing. Is this something you have seen while using MPI and or premium financing? It's a great question.
So, and this needs to stay up here as well, because this is, I have to, am I frozen?
Nope, you're frozen.
Oh. Be back.
Okay. No. Okay. Well, that's a heck of a face to be frozen on. Hated that for you for just a second. If you, Timothy, I think has already, I wasn't able to tag him in the comments, but if you have any questions, get them in right now, because we're kind of heading towards the end of the stream. If you have not jumped in our Facebook community or grabbed any of our free resources, they're linked in the description below. In addition to, if you would like to ask questions and we're not live, you can put them in the comments of the video. We try to answer all of those questions, or you can book a call with Donnell when he is on his calendar, and that is also in the description below. There's a link there. It's selfdirected.info/calendar. I would find that banner, but I think Donnell just came back in, so let's get him back up. And I'll put it up. Here you go. Hey.
Did you miss me?
Yeah, we did. Well, we covered some bases.
Okay.
Got
Here's
some
the key.
housekeeping.
So there's a lot here, and this is important, and here's why. In an environment where interest rates are continuing to increase, it's not a question of will life insurance companies raise cap rates or whatever, the loan rates or whatever. It's not a question of will they, it's when, because it's going to happen.
It's already happened.
That's what I'm getting there.
Okay.
And so as it relates to specifically a SKIA or MPI or a properly structured cash value life insurance products, which we create, we're already seeing the fact that the loan rate has already moved up. And go to Mass Mutual, Mutual of Omaha, NLG, FFL, you name it, it's already happening. And what's going to also continue to happen is, as the loan rate increases, what that says is, here's what's coming. The cap rate is also going to increase, which is actually a positive. I don't know that you will hear anyone outside of me state this, but it's actually a positive if the interest rate increases, meaning the loan interest rate increases, because what that tells me is what's coming is the cap is also going to increase, which means the spread, there's a potential that the spread could actually become larger. But in the interim, because this doesn't happen, I'll call it at the same time, meaning when the loan rate is increased, the cap rate increases at the same point. That's not how this works. The life insurance company, the reason they are increasing interest rates is because they want to make sure they still have positive arbitrage. What that means is if the money inside the general fund, and I'm getting into a lot of weeds, if the money inside the general fund is making 4% or making, I'm sorry, 5%, but it's costing you 4% to be able to leverage your money, there's a negative arbitrage position there for the life insurance company. The life insurance company is not going to take a negative arbitrage position. So what they're going to say is, okay, if you're making 5% inside the general fund, we need to bring the loan rate up to 5% so that at minimum we are lending this money at cost, because that's what the contract says, at cost. So the first step that happens is the loan rate comes up, and we are seeing that right now. Matter of fact, if you were to go back to last Sunday's, we're Sunday now. If you were to go back to Sunday or when, I can't remember which live it was, and you heard me talk about the loan rate inside of the calculator, I used the words 5%. When if you go 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and you were to look at some of the past lives where I'm talking about the money and how it performs inside of the calculator, you would hear me say 4%. So it's already increased from 4% to 5%. It already happened. Matter of fact, if you go to the calculator or at compoundinterest.com or go to selfdirected.info and play with any of the numbers associated with what you can or can't do, you will already see the math has already been adjusted. So it's already happening. So is this something that I've experienced? Absolutely. And we talk about it. And so I appreciate that question. And I apologize for it being so long, but I think it's important to understand that this is what's supposed to happen. This is actually a positive in this space. Now, is that a positive if there was negative arbitrage in this product? What do I mean? Let's say you had a whole life policy and you're making that guaranteed 4%, but the loan rate just went from 5% to 5.5%. So now when you leverage the money inside your policy, you're making even less. That's what's happening inside of most whole life policies. But why? It's going to happen because interest rates are higher. We are in an environment where that's going to happen. What you would hope is you at least remain positive. If you're in a positive, positive arbitrage position, whereas inside of a secure compound interest account like MPI, the cost to leverage your money is 5%. What are you making inside of the policy right now? You're still making on average 7%. So there's still a positive arbitrage position of 2%. And then when the cap rate catches up, meaning it goes from a cap of 10 to a cap of 11, okay, you get back to that 3% spread or whatever that dollar amount is. But maybe it jumps up higher than that. We don't know. We won't know until that point hits. But as I mentioned, it is not just because they increased the interest rate on the loan, now comes the cap rate on the call option. It doesn't happen in succession, so it takes time. Words.
All right, Shannon has a follow-up question. Can multiple accounts be held under the same EIN number? Say I want to self-direct my IRA, my husband's 401k, and our son's IRA. Ooh, we need some thinking music.
Can multiple accounts be held under the same EIN? So keep that up here, because what she's saying is, I've got a business.
Mm-hmm.
Can that business have a self-directed 401k? Excuse me. Can that business have a self-directed 401k for my husband?
Yes.
And can that business have a self-directed IRA for me? And then can that business also have a self-directed IRA for my son? There's a lot here.
Yes.
So let me first pause the self-directed 401k and let's deal with the IRAs.
Okay.
Can you have a self-directed 401k and have a self-directed IRA? Yes. Why is that? Because IRAs are funded with any earned income. So you absolutely can have an IRA outside of all of this. So you can have an IRA and your son can have an IRA, not a problem. And because it's funded with any earned income. So it doesn't have to be funded from the business that owns the 401k. It can be funded from your W-2 job. It can be funded from a liquidated asset. It can be funded from savings. It doesn't matter where the money comes from for the IRA. So can you have a self-directed IRA and a regular IRA with Fidelity for your son? The answer is yes. My question would be, why would you? But to answer the question, can you? Yes, absolutely you can. Now, the self-directed 401k, what is that? That is a 401k that requires what to be had. In order to have a 401k, you have to have a business. So in your question, can the EIN number, can my business have a 401k? Every EIN number you have can have its own 401k. If you have 10 different businesses, all doing 10 different things, all 10 of those businesses can have their own self-directed 401k. Now, again, my argument would be, why would you want to do that? I think there's a better way. But the question is, can you do it? The answer is yes. If you've got a 401k with your W-2 job, and you've got a business that sells real estate or a business that does consulting, can all three of those have a 401k and you contribute to all three of those and you can contribute up to the maximum? The answer is yes. You can have all of those. Now, again, better question would be, why would you want to do that? But can you? The answer is yes.
But what happens if they have full-time employees?
Okay. The W-2 job, though.
Yeah, but then they have a business that has real estate, but they have a full-time employee.
So if they have full-time employees in any of these,
Yeah.
let's say you've got 10 LLCs, and in those LLCs, 9 of them have part-time employees, but you've got the one that has one full-time employee. Well, I think the rule, don't quote me on this because I'd have to go back to my detail to determine, because I'm not 100% sure, but here's where my head's at. If you own 50% or more in that one business that has that one full-time employee, that prevents you from having a self-directed 401k. Now, you hear me say self-directed 401k. Self-directed 401k means solo 401k. Solo 401k implies no full-time employees. So if you have one full-time employee, then you have to offer that self-directed 401k to that employee, which means what you're wanting is a safe harbor plan. A safe harbor plan is the same 401k plan that you have with your W-2 job. It's a 401k that is offered to all employees. Now, can you have a self-directed safe harbor plan? The answer is yes. That's not something that I do because it requires a bit more structure that I'll say that I'm in a position to be able to provide. But the bottom line is you can have a safe harbor self-directed 401k, which means you are able to invest in what you want when you want, have control, and your employee, you can provide a match to that employee, and that employee can self-direct that retirement account. So, man, a lot of words.
This is a lot of words. And I hope what people learned today is that whether you have a business or you have as long as you have the opportunity to have self-employed income, you drive for Uber or Lyft or DoorDash, or you sell something on Etsy or eBay or
MLM.
whatever, Facebook Marketplace or whatever, you're in an MLM, right? You're selling body wraps or shakes or whatever it is that you do, nail stuff, whatever it is that you do, as long as you are getting some sort of self-employed income, or you're a 1099 employee, right? Like you have a 1099 job, that could count as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So as long as you have, you are able to add this in, not only are you able to reduce your taxable income, but this is how you will be able to become your own bank. This is how now you're not only able to leverage the money that is supposed to be sitting in this account, sitting in the market, right? Taking hits with things you can't control, but now you can control that. And in addition to that, when you do loan yourself the money, you're able to also double dip by writing the interest off on your taxes. And that's what we've talked about tonight. We've talked about not just how to leverage, why you would want to leverage, or why, like, what are the reasons to leverage, right? Like, what are the things that you could do? But the steps, we got step by step on how to leverage. And we also walked through how Donnell has very little sense of humor and he needs a little help with that.
Whatever, man. I'm hilarious. I'm sorry, just being Scooby-Doo didn't mesh. That's all.
It's not giving hilarious. We all agree. vote on if Donnell's funny or not. Just put it in the comments so we can know. He'll read them later, and then you can help me help him. And we'll thank you for that. No, everyone will thank you for that because the math doesn't math on the jokes, okay? We're going to
Hey,
get better on that.
we've got a lot of new people in the chat. Let's give away some boats.
Okay, well, first, though, we got a special announcement.
So just remember, if you're on fire, stop, drop, and roll. One more time. Say it with me now.
Stop, drop, and roll. Do that. Do it like pro. Do that.
Okay, so now if you have not won a boat, this is now your opportunity. We talk about the boats. What the heck are we talking about? If you know what we're talking about, just put a boat emoji in there, but don't put hashtag boat unless you want another boat. You're totally entitled. You're here. You can win another boat if you want to give it away to somebody else. We're fine with that. The more boats, the merrier. Okay. The point is that the concept of this is just it's like a mantra. This story has been, in this phrase, this question, will it make the boat go faster, has been called a one-sentence solution. And when it was delivered to us, we knew for a fact that this is what we needed to be able to use, some sort of grounding anchor statement or thought to help our family get centered. And we've been using it ever since. We hope that this concept will remain the same sense of power and meaning for your family or your home too. So this is why we give away the boat. In 1998, a British rowing team dreaming of the Olympic gold found themselves ranked 7th. Their focus had always been on the competition day, but they realized the keys to reaching their highest potential were hiding in the decisions that they'd make over those next 2 years.
Faced with two obvious choices, continue their current path and expect the same result, or give up, they discovered a third transformative option. They united under one guiding question: will it make the boat go faster? Every decision, every action was weighed against this mantra. If the answer was yes, they could or would have to do it.
If the answer was no, it was forbidden, non-negotiable. Prior to the competition, this team was doubted and ridiculed, but no one knew what they had been doing. And once they hit the water, they were nearly unrecognizable, achieved their pinnacle, and won the gold. So we ask you,
What is your goal? What are you willing to do to achieve it?
will your story feel unrecognizable, even to you? Are you willing to light your beacon and stay focused, stay committed? Is your story non-negotiable, or are you waiting to find out how you ranked? Your financial future is not a game. You are only competing with yourself and those in the boat with you, your family and the many generations to come.
Will this make the boat go faster? A sounding alarm, a beacon of clarity amidst turbulent life decisions.
It's not just about speed, but direction, purpose, and an unwavering commitment. Every choice, every sacrifice aimed at the goal.
The first agreement this team made was to become fully self-directed, making their health their wealth, adopting a new perspective on their time and freedom, and the decisions they could fully control to reach their goal.
Will we make your boat go faster? That is our pledge to you. Our mission is to arm you with knowledge, strategies, and insights to ensure that not only you reach the goal, but you do so long before your race is over. Oh. All right. If you put hashtag boat in the chat, then you will be on the wheel to spin to win. We will spin to win. Who's it going to be?
Better be me.
Cynthia Lohman. Congratulations,
Congrats.
Cynthia. Let me put up this banner. Why do I forget to do this every time?
Tell everyone.
Well, it's also in the description below. Hold on, where is it? Okay, well, anywho, go here, okay, and go to the bottom of the page. You'll see where to click, and then you put in your information. We send you the boat. So that's how that works. Okay, let's spin again. Who's it gonna be? Come on. Why isn't it spinning?
Looks like Cynthia won again.
No, come on. Maybe that'll do it.
Cynthia broke the wheel.
Come on now.
It's all right. We got a winner.
I don't like any of this.
For that, Cynthia gets 2 votes.
No. The boat is broke. No, it's not the boat that's broke. Don't start a riot in the chat, Rob. Rob, calm down. Alex, you got to spell
The
boat
boat
right
is
or it
sinking.
doesn't work. Oh, man. Come on.
right.
All right, here, we're going to play a new game. Everybody put somebody else's name in the chat. Oh, you know what? We got new people coming in now. I wish it would work. You try it. You try clicking on it and see if it works on your end.
Okay.
Do you know where it is? Do you see where the little box up at the top, gift box? And when you hover, it says start giveaway. Not working for you either?
No, ma'am.
What in the Temu giveaway little feature do we have going on here? What are we using here? All right. Well, let me see if this.
In the Temu giveaway.
What in the Temu boat spinner do we got going on here? Yeah, I don't know why. Hold on. Let's see if we can get it to work. You know I'm going to be here. Let's see if it.
I think it's my stomach saying, "Hey, you're hungry anyway." So.
No, it's not. Tell it to be quiet because we need to give this boat away. Tell that stomach, hey. Oh, Kevin. So it's picking people and not spinning?
Well, congratulations, Kevin.
What? Bruh. Yeah, okay, well, congratulations, Kevin. You've won. Let's see if it does it again. I'm starting it. Let's see.
I can see it blinking.
Okay, maybe we just can't see it spinning, but it's gonna change the name. It's a secret spin. It's a silent. It's a blind spin. No, it's not.
I don't know that it's a loss. You got 2 winners out of it, sweetheart.
All right, okay.
I can rock with that.
We're gonna
Better
fix
than
it.
zero.
We're gonna contact this streaming company and tell them, I'm sorry, we can't be having this.
You broke our vote.
Don't start a riot in the chat.
It's like Price is Right without Plinko.
Exactly. Thank you. That is a problem. Okay, well, don't. Let me stop. I'm not gonna go level 5 Karen over with about the spinner. We're just gonna see what the deal is, and if not, we'll have a backup next week or next on Wednesday. We will have a backup spinner. We sure will, because I have it. I'll have it ready to go, just in case, because we will be giving these boats away. But how about we do this? We're just gonna pick somebody out of the chat. You want to pick a name?
Okay. Let's see here.
Okay.
I'm just gonna do a quick spin on my own. Give me just a minute. You know what? I landed on Shannon.
He said the wheel has a flap.
How about Shannon Kreider?
Shannon Kreider.
Here, I'll pull up the comment that I landed on. One moment. There, I landed on that comment. So there we go.
Perfect.
So Yannon, Shannon, please go to selfdirected.info/live and
Mhm.
make sure you scroll down to the bottom and it'll be a section that states, did you want to vote? And if so, make sure you fill out your information to include, if this may be an alias for you online, please include the alias that you use as well as your full name. Again, just fill out the form and then we will send your information to you.
That's right. And also, don't judge us about the spinner. Okay, guys? Don't judge. It's not a reflection on us because we didn't make the spinner. I see it feels like judgment. Your comments are giving judgment, Rob. I'm just not I'm not naming any names, Rob, but it's you, okay? With the judgment about the spinner.
The wheel is flat. That is hilarious.
Hilarious. Okay, honestly. Oh, guess who came in at the last minute? Can you guess who it is? Only one person was missing out of all the conversations we were having earlier. It's Mr. Taylor. Yeah.
Welcome, Mr. Taylor.
Okay. So we got to meet Charles Taylor and his lovely wife when we went to Indianapolis. And I'm telling you, this was so much fun. And just being able to, like, you know, chatting on the chat is one thing. Talking to somebody over a Zoom call is another thing. But there are some amazing people in our community, and I hope we get to meet everybody. That's what I hope. I hope we get to meet everybody. It would be amazing if we had an event where everybody could come, and that way whoever was in the chat could, you know, meet each other too. I think that would be cool.
I agree.
Maybe we just need to have one event, like an annual self-directed event, and do it that way. Otherwise, I just think that as we go around to different cities, being able to say, like, let's set something up here. We didn't do that this time. They set it up, which was even better for us because we were just so busy with everything.
Right.
But, you know, for to have this opportunity to meet people and really connect, self-connected in a different way this time. Right, babe?
I'm with it.
Yeah. So just connecting with people it was a complete honor, and to be able to meet your families too, especially the people who weren't even tuned into us, right? Like that was an opportunity in itself. So yeah, we really, I went to put one up. Was it the same one?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
It was this one.
Anybody got a spare spinner? We're spinning out today. All right. Anywho, I do think it's time to eat, so we can get ready for that. We'll be back here on Wednesday. If there is a particular topic that you want us to cover more of in the upcoming streams, please leave that in the comments below so that we can understand what it is that you are looking for more information about and how we can best serve you in that way. So, anywho, we like to end with, if you didn't come from a wealthy family,
you can make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
So stay tuned,
Stay protected.
stay focused.
Stay connected.
I'm Angelique,
And I'm Donnell.
and our goal is to help you.
Get self-directed.
And to do that, we have all these free resources. So if you're new here, don't sleep on those. Jump in. We'll tell you how to get them in just a second. And then we'll be back here on Wednesday. And we hope we'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time. Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you
Get self-directed.